Hello viewers, welcome back. So this is part 14 of our series of session on Tally's Release 3.0, where we are covering the feature of GST. So in this session, we will learn a very simple configuration, but very useful. We will understand two configuration which will be useful for different businesses. Number one is how to manage rate inclusive of GST. And number two, we will see how you can display the MRP on the face of the invoice. So let us go to Tally and explore these two options and see how useful these options can be for your businesses. First, let us take the case of a rate inclusive of GST. Now, we can have two use cases here. Number one, that it is very easy for you to complete your business deal when you are quoting the rate of an item to your customer inclusive of GST. That way you can complete your sales faster. The other use case would be that you would want to always specify the rate inclusive of GST so that it is easy for you to complete your billing rather than taking a calculator and doing a back calculation for arriving at the GST rate. Tally will do this whole back calculation once you enable this option of rate inclusive of GST. That is what we will see here now. Let us go to the sales invoice and make a sale where we can capture the rate inclusive of GST. So I am in the sales voucher. Now before you start capturing your data, one important configuration that you have to enable under F12 configuration, press F12 configure and you have this option here, provide rate inclusive of tax for stock item. This option by default it is going to be no. So you have to come here and then enable this. Just press Y, press enter and press Ctrl A to save this. Once you enable this option, you will notice that there is one column which is additionally getting displayed which says rate inclusive of tax. So let us now make the invoice. Customer sales ledger. I am selecting an item called desktop computers. You can select your item you are dealing in. The quantity is 1. Now here you just enter the rate you have informed the customer inclusive of GST. Let us say the rate is 30,000 rupees, which is inclusive of GST. Press enter. Immediately Tally will apply the back calculation based on the rate that you have specified for the item. Just to check what is the rate of this item, you can come back here, press Ctrl enter, and while you are creating the stock item, we have seen in our previous videos how Tally will automatically inherit the rate from the company configuration. So we are leaving this at the company configuration and the rate is also specified here. So Tally has to now back calculate the rate at the rate of 18% for IGST and obviously 9 and 9 for CGST and SGST. So I'm going to save this, and that is how Tally is calculated the transaction value, and the amount now is 25,423.73. Enter. No other item. So just press enter, and now you just select the tax ledger, CGST, enter, SGST, enter, and the amount gets calculated automatically. Now if you want to see whether the rate is calculated properly at 18%, you can come to related reports, click here, and if you remember Alt A, you can directly press Alt A or just select GST tax analysis, enter, and press Alt F5 detail, and you will observe here that the rate is calculated at 9 and 9 for CGST and SGST. Escape, enter, and you can save this voucher. Now let us see how this invoice gets printed. Now for you to recall your previously saved voucher, all you have to do is just press page up. It will automatically bring your previously saved voucher, and now you can press Ctrl P. Now before you preview your voucher, you can go to the configuration and you can set up the configuration the way you want it. So let us go to the configuration, and you have this configuration screen here where let's walk through each option which is relevant for our invoice. Show rate. Yes, we want to see the rate. The next one is if you have any additional description for stock item, you can set it as yes here. So ensure that show rate inclusive of tax is yes, and HSN detail is also yes, so that it will print the HSN on the face of the invoice, and show GST analysis obviously has to be yes. And let us now view the invoice. Now you don't have to really save this setting here. You can just press escape, and now let us come to the preview and click here. And now you will observe that the item name is there, HSN is there, quantity is there, the rate inclusive of tax is also getting displayed here. The transaction value on which GST needs to be calculated at 18% is also getting displayed here. The transaction amount and the tax amount. And at the bottom here you are getting the GST analysis, which is a mandate for tax invoice as per GST law. Furthermore, you can get more detail here for your tax invoice. If you go back to the configuration here and show item wise detail, also you can set it as yes, and then you just press escape. And now let us go to the preview, and in the preview now you will see this in the landscape, where you will get the additional rate detail also for the item. So the additional information that you're going to see here is this portion, where it is going to tell you what is the taxable value and what is the rate of GST applied, GST amount for CGST and SGST. The next use case we will see is how to manage your billing with the MRP. Let us create an item where you want to enable MRP for that item. So you go to create, select stock item, type your stock item. I will type as MRP item, enter. And now for us to specify MRP for this item, you have to enable an option from the F12 configure. So click on F12, and if you notice here there is an option called provide MRP details. This option by default it is going to be no. Click here and then press Y, enter, and then press Ctrl A to save it. Now you will observe here this additional option which is coming here, set alter MRP detail. Come down to set alter MRP detail, press Y, and now there is another option, allow MRP modification in the voucher. So if this option is set to no, whatever is the rate of MRP that we are going to specify here will remain as it is when you are selecting this item for invoice. If you set this to yes, then while billing, whatever is the MRP that you have entered here, you have an option to modify in the invoice. So let's say we want to set it as yes here, enter, and now it is asking you what is the rate of MRP of this item. Let's say you want to say the MRP is 10,000, enter and save this, Ctrl A. Now let us do the invoice for this item. I'm selecting the item, MRP item, and automatically it will specify the MRP rate that you have specified for this item. Enter here. Now since we have enabled the option to modify the MRP rate while billing, it will populate the default value that we have entered in the stock item, and you have an option here to go and change the MRP. Enter one number, enter. Now you have the value of MRP which is getting displayed here, whether you want to bill at MRP or do you want to bill lesser than the MRP, so that on the face of the invoice you can show your customer that even though the MRP is 10,000 rupees, you are selling to him at a discounted price lesser than the MRP value. So you say 9,000 is what you are going to bill this person, enter, and now you are going to select your CGST tax ledger and your SGST tax ledger. Let's save this voucher, and again we press page up to recall, and let's view the print preview. You're going to press Ctrl P. Let us go to the configuration, and you want to now show the MRP rate on the face of the invoice so that the customer will feel happy that though the MRP is 10,000 rupees, you have sold to this person lesser than the MRP. So we go to configuration here. So you will see this new option here which says show MRP margin. This option will be no. Again you just press enter to toggle to yes, and now we can just press escape and let us preview the invoice. So once you preview the invoice, you will now get an additional column which says what is the MRP of this item and what rate you have billed. Obviously the customer will know that you are billing him lesser than the MRP rate, and rest of the option that we have already seen in the previous use case. This kind of use case, maybe some businesses would like to have this kind of configuration so that they can make their customer feel happy that they are buying the product lesser than the MRP. Now let us take another use case. The idea of putting MRP is that MRP will have normally inclusive of tax rate. So now you don't want to specify the rate. Whatever is the MRP that you have specified for the item, you want to sell at the MRP rate. But at the same time, since MRP is inclusive of GST, how do we handle this situation? That is, I want to specify MRP and at the same time I want the rate of MRP to be picked up, and Tally has to calculate the reverse GST amount like we saw in our first use case. So how do we do this? Let's see how we can handle this. Let's make another entry. Now before making the entry, we have to now enable tax inclusive of GST. So press F12 configuration and come here and specify the rate, provide rate inclusive of tax item. Set this to yes, press Ctrl A. We have this additional column of rate inclusive of tax. So we select the customer sales ledger. The moment you select the MRP item, you will observe that rate inclusive of tax is automatically captured your MRP rate, and it is already done the back calculation for the transaction value. It is now just waiting for you to specify the quantity. Once you specify the quantity, it will automatically multiply this rate into quantity so that the tax amount can be selected separately. So we say quantity is one number, again enter. It's already back calculated, enter, and then you will select CGST ledger, SGST ledger, and save this voucher. Recall it by pressing page up, Control P for printing. Configuration, we have rate inclusive of tax also enabled, and show MRP margin is also enabled here. So you can just press escape, and let's go to the preview here, and in the preview here you will now see the MRP is 10,000, rate inclusive of tax is 10,000, and the other information we have already seen there. This way you can manage your MRP rate inclusive of tax also, and have a proper tax invoice with the information of the tax, which is mandatory again when you are raising a tax invoice, and the tax analysis also is mandated by the law. Now let us take a use case to understand why are we setting this option to yes here. So we saw earlier that if you are setting up the option to yes here, then when you are invoicing, you can go and change the MRP. What is the use case? The use case could be that the item which you are selling, the MRP could be old, and probably the manufacturer would have given you a new sticker for the new MRP. So in that case, you can go and then specify the new MRP which is there on the item. So that is where you can use this option to modify the MRP. So we have set this as yes. Let us quickly do another invoice for us to understand how useful this is. So you go to voucher entry, and just now we saw how you can use MRP with the rate inclusive of tax. So let us see now how we can change the MRP. I'm selecting the MRP item, enter. Now since we had said that you want to change it, so let's say we want to say the new rate is 12,000, enter, and you will observe that the MRP here, which is going to get printed on the invoice, is also changed to 12,000, and the rate is picked up automatically based on the new MRP that you have entered, and Tally is back calculated, and obviously the rest of the thing you will know how you can handle the invoicing. I hope this too simple configuration of rate inclusive of GST and the MRP feature would be of great help for some of the businesses where you can manage GST compliance as well as ease your business of operation. So thank you all once again for staying till the end. See you all in the next session. Thank you very much.